Good evening. Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a milestone document in the history of human rights. It was drafted by the representatives with various legal background from all the regions of the world, and the declaration was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly on 10th of December 1948 in Paris as a common standard of all achievements for all the people and all the nations. Welcome to today's special episode in commemoration of the World International Human Rights Day. But before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to introduce ReachLawyer. ReachLawyer, a network of human rights lawyers, has introduced ReachLawyer's Friday Talk Show as a place where knowledge of human rights is shared, where it is discussed, debated, and debated. ReachLawyer Friday Talk Show has grown from strength to strength and has completed 25 episodes with the best of the lawyers, activists, academics, and have shared their expertise, discussed and debated the challenges, and explained the alternatives to the tools and find solutions. It could not have been possible with the without the dedication of the ReachLawyer team, commitment and support of its founder, and a sheer joy of sharing the knowledge. These talk shows are of an archival value. If one has missed the talk shows live, one can always watch them on the ReachLawyer YouTube channel where they are saved. With that, I would like to call Mr. B.T. Venkatesh, who is an eminent human rights lawyer, former state public prosecutor in the High Court of Karnataka, and the founder of ReachLawyer. Over to you, sir.
Disabled video. So, welcome to Reach Lawyer, a program which we initiated 4 years ago. Today, we are celebrating our International Human Rights Day. It's a day where I'm all the more a joy because of this wonderful young team that Reach Lawyer has. Most of them are law students, and a couple of them are young, fresh lawyers, freshman lawyers. It's an amazing team. Their commitment, their interest in the subject, their research skills, exemplary. In fact, the Friday talk show that we run, it is also happens to be celebrating that we have completed 25 weeks, 25 episodes of Reach Lawyer Friday Talk Show on large number of issues. The diversity of issues of human rights have been discussed over a period of 25 weeks by one of the eminent jurists, amazing lawyers, extraordinary experts, academics, activists, you name. They have been here at Reach Lawyer and they have put all their expertise to the knowledge of the students, lawyers, activists, and all those who are concerned about human rights, about democracy, of a very sane society. I think that's what the endeavor of Reach Lawyer has been. Today, on this International Human Rights Day, we have to sit and think that are we in right times when we look into the kind of situation that's happening across the country, in India and across the globe, we see a great amount of disconcerting notes. The music is not even. In fact, it's become a little harsh on the ears. In fact, when you look at the kind of statutes that have been brought in India, the kind of land reforms that we have brought in, the way They're one of the finest public sectors and most essential services like railway being sold off to private, life insurance corporation being sort of sold out to private, Air India being sort of sold. Many of these things which we've cherished over a period of 70 years, that this is the kind of institutions that we have strongly built over a period of time seems to be getting affected. In fact, people have been asking questions, be it the judiciary, be it the election commission, be it the administration, be it the police department, be it the army. The notes or disconcerting notes are all there in all these places. Now, the issue which you talk in terms of is democracy is in peril, and many of these questions are being discussed and debated on an everyday basis in the social media, in public spheres, and people have been into the streets. There have been such a long, huge strike against the farm bills which was passed by the parliament. Farmers are up against it. In fact, today we would like to, on the International Human Rights Day, we would like to dedicate this day. We would like to demonstrate our solidarity, our commitment to the struggle of farmers who have been fighting it out against government, against laws which try to corporatize the lands in this particular in this country, which is the mainstay of nearly 75 to 80% of the population of this country. And these are not some strange person. These are the people who provide us that everyday bread. All that we eat, all that we survive on, all that we work for is this bread. And this is being taken away from them. This livelihood option is being destroyed for them. People are against it. The farmers are agitating against it. It's the responsibility of each and every citizen of this country to support them. So that because without them, do you think they exist? Is there a purpose in our life? Food on the table, bread on the table. That's something which is always the slogan which we talk in terms of. And many of the people, millions and millions, a country where nearly 40% of the people are below the poverty line. I think it's time that we should start asking these questions too. Come support the farmers' struggle on land reforms. I think that's the first thing we dedicate, that this International Human Rights Day, we support the struggle of farmers for their rights. We support their demand for withdrawal of all the statutes, land reform statutes being brought in by the government of India, as it's against the very spirit and purpose and ethos on which our constitution is built on. That will be the first statement which I would like to make. Second, that the human rights are essential. In fact, today, the ReachLawyer team is going to discuss on the subjects at length. Each of them is going to speak one part, one aspect of the fundamental rights today. This is something which is unique and experience from the team. And what I say is that this constitution, the founding fathers of this constitution, the finest scholars, experts, amazing persons, the wealth of knowledge of their professional experience, expertise, the best of the lawyers, best of the academics, best of the scholars came together and framed this constitution. Amazing debate of Constituent Assembly debates, which good number of people in this country are not aware of. And that's something which need to be made easier, accessible to people. Now, this constitution talks in terms of the best of the fundamental rights, best of human rights, all aspects. I think that I would not like to get into that particular thing that the team of Reach Lawyers are going to speak on that. But what I say is that it's our responsibility to take this world of human rights, that everyone in this country need to know that they have rights. Everyone in this country need to fight for that person who is next, whose human rights have been denied, that I stand with him, I support him, I demand protection of his rights. I think that's something which each one of us are duty bound to do that. And that's what Constitution Article 51A says. I think something that each one of us need to pursue. And that's the kind of service we do to ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it's we, the people of India, who have framed this constitution to ourselves to be a socialist, secular, democratic republic, a sovereign republic, a republic which believes in the kind of rights, the kind of social justice, the kind of liberty, the kind of fraternity, every equality, you name of all these aspects, the vision of this particular constitution as envisioned in the preamble to the constitution is something which we'll look into. On this day, on this day of International Human Rights Day, our constitution that reflects, that that presents the entire universal declaration of human rights as some very, very valuable right assured to every citizen. Is it assured to every citizen? Are we able to access that kind of rights? Are we able to protect our rights? I think that's something which is being debated across the country today, more particularly with the kind of draconian laws that are existing, more particularly that's the kind of struggles that people are waging against the state as to protect their constitutionally guaranteed rights. I think at this time, it's also important for us that at the time when we are commemorating International Human Rights Day, we are also asking that human rights across the globe and across the country, to the lost man, to the lost soul, should be assured and ensured, and he should get that equal space for himself. I think that's the purpose of this constitution. That is the purpose of this particular thought process of our founding fathers, and that's the purpose on which the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, on which day we celebrate International Human Rights Day. I request the constituents of the ReachLawyer team who are going to speak on the various aspects of this particular constitution, to speak on equality, to speak on discrimination, speak on fundamental rights, speak on religious rights, speak on constitutional remedies. I would like each one of them to talk on this subject. It's a joy to see that they have been able to do. I would not have it not been possible for us at Reach Lawyer to conduct this Friday talk show, which we have been doing on each Friday for the last 25 weeks, without the support of this excellent, amazing team of young lawyers, young law students who have put all their effort, dedication to making this wonderful human rights program a success. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Um, Before we begin, I would like to um talk about the right to equality, which is the very essential part of the fundamental right. If you look at equality is concerned, it's the very foundation of the rule of law, and no nation or any country would not call itself democratic without the right to equality. And it has taken like centuries of struggle and sacrifice, where most of the philosophers over last 400 years, um, they have over last 400 years they have it's been a who they have explained what's the importance of this right to equality is, and it's one of the basic rights, and this was said by Thomas Paine in his Rights of Man, which and it was shown as one of the freedom. I mean, uh, it was the freedom struggle of the liberation of the movements that have taken place in the world, which led to this right to equality. The founding fathers, now that was the historical aspect, but if you look at the Indian perspective, the founding fathers of the Constitution, they based the Indian Constitution. Yeah, well, the founding fathers of the Indian Constitution were um, they internationally accepted this rights, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was one of the greatest exponents of this constitution, had had taken a part in the entire who has taken the part in the an entire part of the constitution and dedicated it, and it's called as the fundamental rights. They have which has been justiciable. Even the petitioning for the protection of these rights, for the protection of these rights, is also a fundamental right. Right to equality is a very yardstick of our constitution, and it is a and it to evaluate our rights, and our constitution speaks equality first, and everything should follow it. And you cannot imagine of a nation state of India if you do not understand what the right to equality is. And every asp- uh, every aspiration and the goal is enshrined in the preamble and can only be achieved with the right to equality and equal protection of the law, which is what I would like to start off with, and hand over the rest of the discussion to the teammates. Thank you.
A very good evening to all of you. I will be speaking about the right to freedom and expression. Now, the discussion on human rights would be incomplete without speaking about the importance of the right to freedom. According to Article 19 of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, everyone has the right to freedom to hold opinions without influences and seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Now, this very same concept has also been enshrined in Article 19 of the Indian Constitution and has been considered as one of the 6 major fundamental rights. Now, this basic human right allows oneself to express themselves freely as long as it does not violate the fundamental rights of another being. Therefore, in some forms, it is a limited right and not an unlimited one. For instance, the Indian Constitution exclusively lays down various reasonable restrictions that may be applicable to the specific right. These restrictions include conditions such as the exercising of this right must not question the integrity of the nation, it must not threaten the security of the nation, must not incite violence, etc. Apart from these conditions, the reasonableness of these restrictions and in what circumstances that these restrictions can be applied changes from case to case, and it depends on the discretion of the court whether that restriction is reasonable or not. Now, fundamental rights are considered to be rights guaranteed to all citizens of a nation simply by the virtue of them being human beings. These are a culmination of basic human rights and hold the highest importance and stature in a democratic nation. The procedure to amend these rights or bring any changes to them are highly stringent so as to protect these rights from being denied to its people, since it is their foremost and basic human right. However, unfortunately, despite such guarantees being provided to the people, these rights have been violated time and again and without any mercy. It is an unfortunate statement to be making after being a citizen of a democratic nation. We needn't look far beyond. In our own nation, in the past couple of years, there have been an infinite number of cases showcasing this very gross violation of our basic human rights. What makes it all the more aggravating is that these rights are being denied to the people by the very authorities that are expected to protect these rights for us. The recent instances, for example, in the Bhima Koregaon violence in India, the CA NRC protests, where the people were exercising their freedom to express their thoughts and their emotions, were termed as seditious by the concerned authorities. This leaves no room for dissent. Dissent is is one factor that is considered to be very important for a development of a democracy, of a democratic nation. Furthermore, the recent protests by the farmers that was brought up by Advocate BT Venkatesh, they were raising their dissatisfaction against laws that were clearly violative of their right to livelihood. It directly affects their livelihood, their careers, their work, and it also, farmers being the producers of the food for this entire nation, it is a very important show of dissatisfaction towards towards these laws. Yet it was considered to be as inciting violence among the people and disturbing the public order. The reasonableness of these restrictions is no more a concern for the court to decide, or or for that that a court will protect the citizens from. Now these reasonable restrictions have become authoritativeness by the very authorities that are supposed to protect these rights for us. And the people of the nation have simply become victim to this. A very renowned personality, legal personality, Mr. Fali Nariman, had once rightly stated, freedom after speech. That is what freedom of speech is all about. Never forget this. One is allowed to speak as much as they like, but there is a person always waiting there to nab you and out you in so you can't speak again. It is that protection that we are asking for. This statement truly encompasses the state of human rights today, and one that is very, very unfortunate, because these rights needn't be asked for to be protected in the first place. These rights are human rights that we as human beings are entitled to. And we at Reach Lawyer will continue to bring these gross violations to light by holding meaningful conversations and ensure that it is understood how important it is that these human rights are protected at all costs. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So I will be touching upon Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, which talks about right to life with personal liberty. My co-speakers before had spoken about Article 14, Article 19, Article 14, which talks about right to equality, and Article 19, which talks about freedom of speech and expression, all of which are very important in understanding what Article 21 of our Constitution means and why it holds pertinent significance today as we discuss, as we celebrate the Human Rights Day and discuss about human rights. So Article 21 of the Constitution confers upon every citizen the right of protection of life, the right to protection of life with personal liberty. Now, this article ensures to every citizen that we have the right to live and right to personal liberty in the sense that the dignity and liberty of our life is protected. So in this context, there's one particular judgment that is very important to remember when we talk about right to life with personal liberty, and that is Maneka Gandhi versus the Union of India. Maneka Gandhi versus the Union of India is a landmark judgment which has expanded the scope of Article 21 by including right to life with dignity as one of the essential appendages or essential concomitants of Article 21. And why is this right to life with personal liberty in the context of dignity, is why is it important to understand? Is because of the recent actions by the government. Now let us look at the first important act, which is the UAPA Act, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act of 1967, a law which has been recently very actively used to arrest persons on the account that they are dangerous to the public, that on the account that they could be involved in some unlawful activity and therefore are dangerous for public order. So the UAPA Act, what it does, it presumes that somebody is not innocent. It presumes that somebody is capable of a criminal activity, which by itself eliminates or by itself undermines the right to life with dignity and goes against the principle of presumption of innocent until proven guilty. Every citizen is presumed to be innocent, except that the UAPA law, which has been very frequently used, presumes that they are criminals, which in itself is violative of their right to life with dignity and violative of their personal liberty in general. Now, the same UAPA law can be understood in the context of Article 22. Now, what is Article 22? Article 22 confers upon every citizen the right when they're arrested. So the first clause says that arrested persons have the right to be informed the grounds of their arrest. And the second clause says that they should be represented by the magistrate within 24 hours of their arrest. Now, the same Article 22 also has an exception clause, which is preventive detention, in a case where it is assumed that that person could be dangerous to public order, or that it is assumed that the said person has a threat to public order or national security. The person can be arrested, and that particular person doesn't have to be produced before the magistrate or doesn't have to be informed about grounds of their arrest in that case. And this is an exception clause. Now, when one looks at this Article 22 from the perspective of Constituent Assembly, it was very ardently argued by our constitutional makers that Article 22 is a saving clause with respect to Article 21. So what Article 21 does do, it confers a right to life with dignity and personal liberty. It is said under Article 22 that the same right to life with personal liberty is also granted to arrested persons, except that within the confines of the jail or within the confines of the arrestee, a part of personal liberty and a part of that dignity can be undermined or can be suspended in if it is assumed or if it is believed that the person is involved in a criminal activity. So it is actually, Article 22 is actually an exception to Article 21, which means that Article 22 is an exception to Article 21, and the preventive detention clause in Article 22 is an exception to the exception, meaning that preventive detention can only be used in the most exceptional circumstances. Now the question arises as to, can the parliament enact a law based on exception? If Article 22 and preventive detention clause is considered to be an exception, does the parliament have the power to enact an entire law, which is the UAPA, based on an exception itself? And the same applies to the National Security Act as well. It has enacted upon the exception instead of enacting upon the norm. So in the A.K. Gopalan judgment, one Justice Ali Fazl Ali, says that the parliament cannot make an exception the norm. So when the preventive detention is an exception, you cannot take that exception and make it a law and make it a norm. So if you look at the UAPA law, not only does it violate, not only are persons who are involved, such as Varavara Rao or Sudha Bharadwaj, not only are their basic rights, such as right to life and dignity, being undermined or being suspended with regard to their arrest, but the intention of the constitutional makers when they drafted Article 22, that intention and that very purpose has also been sabotaged, because the parliament has enacted upon something that is not something that is an exception and not a norm, and has entirely sabotaged the purpose of Article 22 in itself. And this has been this particular ratio decidendi or obiter, this sort of obiter dicta has been reiterated by the courts in many judgments, not only A.K. Gopalan, but even in Maneka Gandhi. This sort of obiter dicta has been reiterated by the judges. But even then, the government or the executive agencies continue to work on exception being made the norm. So we were just looking at the mainstream ways in which Article 21 and Article 22 has been suspended. We also need to boil down these two articles and understand how the very intention into sort of crafting this article has been sabotaged by laws like this, and specifically by implementing these laws in context of arresting journalists or arresting persons in that level. So next we go on to talk about how Article 22 and Article 21 in itself have been violated in the context of custodial violence. Now, India observes 1,731 deaths in police custody, with more than 2,000 people being victims of custodial torture. Now, this also goes against Article 21 because you're violating their personal liberty within the confines of a prison or a jail, as one may say. But it also goes against the principles and intentions of Article 22 because you are minimizing their representation. People who are victims of custodial torture or custodial violence are often not represented. So Article 22, Clause 2 of the Constitution is also violated in that context. Then under trial prisoners, India observes one of the most highest numbers of under trial prisoners. Under trial prisoners are prisoners who are just there and it's not sure whether they've actually committed a crime or not. That's almost the layman definition of who an under trial prisoner is. So in that context as well, you're violating Article 21. Personal liberty has been completely violated. Article 22, because in most cases, you don't inform them about the grounds in which they're being arrested. Again, because most under trial prisoners, as has been stated by the statistics, They are people from lower socioeconomic strata of the society and therefore have no representation. And given the state of free legal aid in our country, there is no way any of these people are represented. So Article 21 is violated, and the saving clause of Article 22 is also grossly violated in this case. With this, I come to a conclusion as to what Article 21 and Article 22 stands, and how in different spheres and different areas and domains this has been violated. And it is also the intention of Reach Lawyers to continue bringing issues like this up. Thank you, everyone. With this, I request my co-speaker Shrikant to take up.
Good evening to one and all, and thank you so much for joining us on this important day of International Human Rights Day. I would be talking about why these two fundamental rights are important, why I feel they are essential: right to education and cultural rights. First, let's start with the right to education. This basically ensures that education is a fundamental right that everybody, every living soul of a state is entitled to receive. Why should it be fundamental? Is it, some people may think, is it everyone's right to have a stressful few nights before an exam, mug up books and books, force yourself to get a very good rank? One very essential thing to note is that education is not only restricted to exams, the four walls of a classroom, a teacher having a strict grip of the students, etc. Education can be defined as the acquisition of skills, values, beliefs, habits, etc. It is not restricted to trying to bring food to the table, although it is important. It's also about being aware of your surroundings. It's about what is happening around you. It's about trying to get a grip over your surroundings and what is happening around us, so that we don't have to be dependent on any other person or any other authority to help us move from one day to another, to help us finish and make it through a day. It helps us distinguish the right from the wrong, white matter from dark matter. It helps us understand what is important to us, what is healthy to us, what is our priorities, and it sensitizes us about ourselves and our surroundings. It helps us understand why we even exist. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar emphasized on how education was important in order to improve lives and be more aware of ourselves. Most importantly, it helps us understand our other fundamental rights, as have been discussed by my fellow members of the ReachLawyer team. Himali Sylvester and Mayin Mawara. As Ambedkar rightly stated, education is what makes a person fearless, teaches him the lesson of unity, makes him aware of his rights, and inspires him to struggle for his rights. It helps us understand our processes and what we are entitled to. As the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, stated, education is the realization of the best in man, body, soul, and spirit. Thus, education is also extremely important for a democracy. One of the most important elements of a state are people, and people are the heart and soul of a democracy. People take center stage in making big decisions for the state. Without education, people, the very important element of a state, which is people, would be close to useless. They wouldn't know their position in a democracy. They wouldn't know how important they are, and they would let the state trample over them to whatever the state wishes be greedy, and and behave in its according to its whims and fancies. Hence, education acts like a fuel to any state. Now let us move on to why cultural rights are important. What do we mean by culture? Culture is a way of life. It involves habits, routines, beliefs, thinking, and ideology. It involves our perception of what's right and what's wrong. It involves people from various backgrounds being able to lead lives which is most convenient to them and what appeals to them and what is in alignment to their beliefs without having any interference from the state. Values are what form our beliefs, what's right, what is wrong. Without our cultural rights, we wouldn't even be able to think freely, lead our lives the way we want to. There would be restrictions on our identity, our thoughts, our beliefs, how we conduct our lives, how we present ourselves, how we dress, how we eat, what language we speak. I mean, we would end up being controlled by the state. Imagine a life where you cannot be you. You're just another puppet to the state. Imagine a life where you're dancing to the tunes of the state and the authority and those in power. Life would end up becoming a litmus test, checking how our culture is in accordance with the ironclad restrictions and impositions of the state. Culture is what makes us human. It distinguishes us from other animals and machines. It is essential in order to make living things, to make these living species human. I would like to end by saying that the right to life may protect our body, but the right to culture protects our soul. Thank you. I would now request Diksha Garg to take over.
Thank you so much, Shrikant. All of my friends at ReachLawyer have spoken to you about different rights, and I'm sure all of you are able to identify which right is left. I'm obviously going to be talking about the right to religion. Considering the political scenario presently, I do aware the contentious situation I am in right now with the topic I have chosen, but nevertheless, I would like to begin now. So, freedom to religion is something that is not just present within the international norms of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but it is something that India identified and adopted. But it was very clear that the new India or the new independent India did not choose to define herself on basis of this religion. To actually identify this, we need to look no further than within the intentions of our makers. When it was proposed by several members that our preamble define that we define ourselves in our preamble in name of religion, it was categorically and unequivocally rejected by most constituent assembly makers, defining that we will not be identifying ourselves on terms of religion. Secularism, though not in terms of words, but in terms of spirit, has always been present within the Constitution of India. Today, we are seeming to being disillusioned from this very reality. There are forces, political and otherwise, which guide us to believe that the constitution makers never believed in a secular India. And we all know how false it can be. Within this year itself, the number of transgressions committed on basis of religion, including of mob lynching, anti-conversion laws implemented by various states, UP joining the ranks very recently, and Karnataka contemplating the same, raise issues. Karnataka has always prided itself in being one of the states to have experienced very few instances of communal violence as opposed to others. However, we seem to be losing that reality. Bangalore itself had two major instances of communal violence during this year. Right to religion is something that all our constituent makers gave to us within Article 25, 26, 27, and 28. With the judgments of the Supreme Court, the attitude of our executives, this fundamental right is being breached. And we need to take a stance right now. Not just religion, which is a matter of identity and has now become a matter of identity politics, but also caste is playing a major divisive role in India. I'm sure most of us are uh, aware of the realities evoked by the Hathras incident, but that narrative seems to have changed as well as forgotten by the hands of our very able media. When we talk of religion, we must realize that religion is mere a question of identity. I admit that India has a different scope and different way of secularism. When India identified secularism, unlike its European counterparts, we identify and accept religion in public spheres. However, we do not accept discrimination based on the same. But again, like I said, this reality is slowly becoming something else and something new. As students of law, we cannot deny the existence of secularism or of freedom of religion, but we need to identify the threats to the same. The anti conversion laws, especially, evoke a sense of questioning, sense of curiosity as to why and how this is happening. Also, to very simply conclude by quoting the father of our constitution, on 26 January 1915, India entered into a life of contradictions where we had freedom and respect, equality in the political sense, but not in the social sense. He admitted that democracy and equality in India was mere a top dressing on an Indian soil that was inherently unequal. And it is a sad reality that the words spoken nearly 70 years ago have today turned into a reality. We have entered into a life of contradictions. And perhaps a much more sad reality is that the majority of the population seems to accept it, where constitution is under threat as well as right to religion. With this, I conclude, but just to reiterate and remind everyone, the preamble of India clearly specifies the position of the Indian constitution as well as makers. It first identifies the people of India within the term of we, and then questions their identities on basis of caste religion, caste, creed, religion, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, my co-speakers, Nitin, Diksha, Mayin, Shrikant, for that wonderful presentation. We'll now have a short discussion about our experiences with ReachLawyer as we complete 25 weeks of our presentation with this week. May I ask all the co-speakers to be on video so we can talk about each of our experiences? Nitin, would you like to start since you were there since the beginning of the show, and would you like to tell us as to how this started and what was the idea behind this?
Um, well, it's been a great joy to be here for last 25 weeks, and it's more something which we don't even get in our college syllabus, and it's like having an exposure to such a um, wonderful talk shows that we have conducted, and the it's I don't know how to say this. It's something which can't be expressed, but it's been a real joy for me to be here. And the main idea that we had when we started this show was to discuss basically about the intolerance in the society, and also about mostly about human rights. And we've had lots of human rights lawyers, a great number of activists who came and shared it, and I'm sure we all had a wonderful exposure to it. And yeah, it's been a real joy. Yeah, that's all I would like to say.
Yes, it has indeed, because I remember receiving a call from Advocate B.T. Venkatesh, and he said, you guys will have to start organizing a talk show. And with my friend Diksha, both of us were on call. And both of us just said, oh, talk show, we're not public speakers. What would we do? And how would we introduce the guests and all of that? And it has indeed been a long journey, but we've met so many people from different domains. We had Madam Kavita Lankesh, we had Mr. Arvind Narain. We also had Advocate Rashmi Katyayan and so many other people with whom our interactions were great. We got to meet different people, try to build our horizons from different areas. For instance, I had no clue about what tribal rights were until Advocate Rashmi Katyayan came and told me about it. And there was so much knowledge enrichment, and also a lot of fun talking to great people. And especially as law students, we look up to lawyers and we think lawyers are very strict and very difficult people to deal with, except that when they come on the talk show, they're very engaging, they're ready to cater to our questions, and they're a lot more interactive than we would think. And I think these 21 weeks have been great for me personally, and I look forward to many more talk shows like this.
Yeah, like as Himani very rightly stated, it's a very fun experience for us, especially as students who are still trying to figure out our own, not just as students, like even just as people having opinions about these major issues. When we get to listen to experts about these matters, it's very enlightening for us, and in a lot of ways, whatever opinions you hold, it actually gives you a new perspective. And for me, for instance, like when we had the talk on sexual harassment, women empowerment and women in politics. I believe someone's, yeah, it was very eye-opening for me, and my views on it, like, it changed drastically. And like, even when I came across, I stumbled upon this just by chance, and Advocate BT Venkatesh was very kind enough to let me in and be a part of this team. And he just said that he only note he gave me was, if you have something you want to speak about, you have an opinion about something, this is the place to be. So he's like, when you feel some strongly about something, you need to speak it out. And I think this is a very new concept also, like even for us as law students, we haven't really seen, I mean, I haven't come across any platform where students and like young people are sitting and actually having conversations about matters like this, and giving a fresh perspective, and wherein the new generation is kind of coming in. So it was a very new concept, and I really hope that we take this somewhere, because of and it's great. It's a great platform for us, and I hope it's a great, people look at this and they feel inspired to join in or start something, initiate something like this as well. Because we really need these conversations, because let's be honest, nobody's really having these conversations to the extent that they need to be having. So yeah, this is ReachLawyer, and we hope that we continue to have more of these interesting talks. Thank you.
My experience with ReachLawyer, like I'm the latest entrant, and I thought that this was not a place for me. I thought this was a place for people who work with Advocate BT Venkatesh's firm, ReachLaw. And my sort of invitation to this forum was all thanks to Advocate BT Venkatesh sir. He sort of slipped it into my birthday wishes. He called me up during my birthday to wish me, Nitin and BT sir and Vinoda ma'am. And BD sir, in the middle, he's like, why don't you join us? And since then, I would describe my experience as an experience of exposure, eye-opening, engaging, inspiring, and sensitizing. It has really helped us, talk to and interact with people who have gone and who have been a part of issues, who have experienced really terrible things, and people who have fought for justice, and people who are at the grassroots level. So we've been able to interact with people who've got a treasure and plethora of experience, and it's really, it's a sort of, I would say, to an extent, it has also changed my outlook. For example, I my outlooks on death penalty sort of changed after our show with Vani Subramaniam, documentary maker, and it was also a joy speaking to the other guests. It really opened my eyes, and it really helped me. It gave a practical side to my law studies. It brought textbook concepts to life. One very memorable event of bringing textbook concepts to life was bringing the case law of Samata versus State of Andhra Pradesh to life. I got to meet a gentleman behind the case, behind the activism, Mr. Ravi Rebaprakada sir, and it was amazing to meet a man at the forefront of tribal rights. And all in all, it's been a roller coaster of a ride. And what I'm really proud of about is our consistency. Without fail, Friday evening we have our talk shows, and that has been a major talking point amongst people whom I know who view this talk show. Very happy with the fact that, come what may, Friday night we have our talk shows. So this is also instilled a lot of values in me. It's also brought in a good amount of discipline. It has also brought in enhanced my feelings of compassion and sensitivity. It has also enhanced that, all thanks to this talk show. And I would like to thank all my other co-hosts and co-fellow rich lawyers uh, for having made this a joyride, and we hope to achieve bigger scales, and we hope to bring more issues to light. And thank you very much.
Okay, I don't know. I think Srikanth used up a lot of adjectives that I was going to talk about. So anyway, but yeah, it's like Holly said, 25 weeks ago, not 25, 23 weeks ago, we got a call from BD sir stating that there is an initiative like this and he would like for us to be a part of it. I remember being a lot nervous about it because as a student, my experience of expressing dissent has been to be labeled off as anti-national terrorist sympathizers and so on and so forth. So there was no safe space for us to actually express our dissent. There is no platform today to be actually truthful. Even today, there is very less platforms where students or the youth feels comfortable to actually talk about issues. Like mine said that people don't have these conversations, but also the reason is we don't have enough platforms like this. For instance, even for today's show, I think I told Sir 5 or 6 times that I was not sure if people want to listen to students anymore. People want to listen to our voices because they don't know our faces. Sir has always given us confidence regarding this, stating that you say what you have to, and eventually you will have a crowd. You will have people listening to you. You will have people who want to join you, want to talk about it. And I think that is what we all just aim to achieve, have a platform for these young students, for us to basically talk about what we want to without being labeled off and being discouraged for our dissent. So I don't know, my experience at ReachLawyer has simply been for me to actually find a space for myself in this very huge democracy with very vast opinions, and to find a place for your own opinion is also very important, and to find the right place, because we are given a lot of freedom to form our opinions, but as long as it is information and factual based, and that is what we want the youth today to do so, because it is very clear that the youth is being swayed by the political classes, by the media, by the social activists. everyone, they need to have an information-based opinion rather than a opinion which is manufactured, as was stated by Noam Chomsky also. So this platform itself has given me a lot of information about authors, about people whom we should be looking up to, whom we can follow, whom we can go to for information. And I think that is something that is really difficult to find in today's times, because information is being replaced for the WhatsApp University, as has come the new term. But yeah, so I think my experience at ReachLawyer has been a very information based platform, as well as to, like I said, find a place for all of us, to find a place for our opinions, and to safely talk about it without thinking of being labeled off or being discouraged.
Thank you, everyone. All my co-speakers would agree, and my friends at Reach Law would agree that whatever happened, and these 25 weeks would have been nothing without the constant support of Advocate B.T. Venkatesh, whose encouragement, whose enthusiasm, and no matter what happens, he'd make sure we have a meeting. He'd make sure this talk show happens. So the man behind this talk show, I'd like to invite him to give his concluding remarks. Over to you, sir.
It's a joy. In fact, today we miss few of the ReachLawyer team. Today we don't have the opinion, experiences of Saurabh. Saurabh Ashok has been the super pillar of this particular program from the beginning. He came with amazing innovative ideas on hosting. In fact, he had trained Mr. Nitin on as to how to host the whole program. It is one of the programs which was taught an amateurish effort by persons who had no clue regarding either videography or the streaming or any of the subject. Most of us are either law students or lawyers, and absolutely no clue regarding either the technology that goes behind a talk show. I think that it was organically developed, and great amount of credit goes in making the kind of program that we have today is through the hard work and the great amount of discussion with Saurabh Ashok. He has been an amazing support for this. Today we don't have him to come and talk to you on this program. I really miss him on this day. I think we'll have on the time that he comes and talks to us. The other person who was amazing was the whole construct of moderating the program began with Prerna Dadu. Prerna Dadu is final year law student from Jindal Global, who was keen on this program. We told her you need to moderate, and she accepted the same, and we had to develop a program as to how to moderate the event. In fact, this was something totally new for all of us. Though we have conducted a number of seminars and webinars and organizing programs across the institutions where we work with, but on online, remote, working together or something which is an experience we never had. I think that was made possible, and this amazing student Prerna did an excellent presentation on the program, and she started that set the tone for the way of the program need to be moderated. I think all of the other speakers who have been there today have done an excellent job, either in the constructive research or in moderating the program or engaging with the amazing guests that we have in the last 25 weeks. One of the important things which we wanted to achieve in this Friday talk show was break that kind of the structures that we have. In fact, there is a program for students, there is a program for an expert, there is a program for an activist, there is a program for a concerned citizen. So we wanted to break all those barriers. I think we should do away with all that. I think we have been making some great strides in that effort in the ReachLawyer Friday talk show, as that we have an expert like Meher Desai, as the Council of Bombay High Court, internationally, nationally respected human rights activist, amazing lawyer, amazing scholar on the subject, speaker on the subject. He was there with us. And he could explain the whole concepts of law which were there without using even one single word of a jargon which is associated with the kind of subjects that we talk in terms of. So one thing which we were ensured was that jargon is out. It has no place in the construct. The second thing which we did was the technical aspect is concerned. In fact, we have one of the finest experts, for example, somebody like Kavita Lanke, somebody like Arvind Narayan, many of them have this kind of good amount of technical information on various subjects. We said that that has no place because it has to be in such simple language that anyone can understand, a student can understand, a layman can understand, a concerned citizen can understand, an activist can understand. So the kind of platform which you wanted to create, it was too much of a demand on a program, but we have been trying to do that. I think we have been fairly good in achieving that kind of thought. Maybe a good number of these talk shows that we have are introductory in nature, but in times to come, the information level that we are going to have will be increased in a period of time. And so also is the expertise. In fact, if we can see that almost the entire members of the team which we have is amazing. They're gaining strength by strength. In fact, this was something which was unheard of. Today, initially there used to be so much of preparation for moderation, so much of preparation for program. We had spent nearly around 20 hours, 25 hours for every talk show, 1 hour talk show. Now it has come down because of the kind of experience that we have. As we know how the nitty-gritties of running the show, I think that amount of time has come. We are looking at new innovative methods in developing the program, and that's still going on. It's an ongoing process that we have, and it will be towards that. And we have another student who was amazing, finding some young lawyer, in fact, just completed law, young lawyer called Lavish Anand. He was also an amazing support in this program. He has been doing great amount of research for the program. We had all the team members doing an amazing cohesive work, some contributing by an excellent research, some by presentation, some by research and presentation, some in hosting the program, some in technical aspects of the same, some in getting the data material for the presentation spot is concerned. So much of experiments have happened in the last 25 weeks, and this has been an interesting journey that we had. And that's the kind of journey we intend to continue. And there are a number of other people who are willing to join. And today, it's such a pleasure to state that we have long list of amazing experts across the country joining us in coming weeks in this ReachLawyer Friday Talk Show. Friday Talk Show is some place where we intend to create that amount of archival material. That archived material is available on YouTube for you to watch it if you miss the talk show. And we intend to look at developing various podcasts in this program. We intend also to develop into the very wonderful text on these blogs on this particular program. Good amount of work is happening. And in fact, today, it's a joy to announce that ReachLawyer is coming up with an amazing internship program. Internship program for media school, internship program for law schools, internship program for art schools, internship program for schools of humanities. And in fact, we have been trying to put forward an opportunity for students from different walks of life, different areas of study, come together, understand, and contribute to this kind of building this kind of a knowledge, making this democracy really vibrant. We believe in Reach Law one very important thing, which has been said maybe very, it becomes a cliche to make statement that, younger generation is the future of this nation. We keep talking about it, but however, we don't give space for them. ReachLawyer believes in giving that space. In fact, today, the most of the program that we're conducting on the ReachLawyer Friday Talk Show is done by amazing young team of students and freshmen, young lawyers who just graduated from law school and have been practicing now. Amazing lawyers. And this is an experience which they would cherish. We would like to make that kind of space for them so that more and more students are involved in this program. We intend to work with so many institutions. We have great amount of interest from Indian Institute of Journalism and New Media, interesting number of inquiries from the Geetam University of Visakhapatnam. So we're also talking to Sister School. They're also talking to humanities institutions, various institutions across India, and where even the national law schools in India, and more particularly Bangalore and other places. So we have been trying to reach out to a large number of students. We would like to make this possible, that the curriculum, which has some limitations because of these structures, we go that little extra space is provided to students to explore, to understand, and to express themselves. That's acquiring that kind of skills of communication, that forceful argument, that amazing debate, and also a space where they get to listen to, interact with one of the finest brains in this country. That's something has been my dream. And not only me, and the team of ReachLawyer, a number of advocates who are part of this across the Karnataka, across India. We have a large network of amazing lawyers across India who are also part of this particular program and who have come and spoken, like Rashmi Katyayan, like Dr. Suresh, like Mihir Desai or Vijay Hiremat. Amazing list of lawyers across India. In fact, we're also going to come, number of them are going to come and join this particular program in your Friday talk show and talk on various interesting subjects of everyday relevance, subjects of our lives, subjects of our dreams, subject of a society which you want to be healthier, a society where freedom of speech is protected, a society where human rights are protected, a society where equality is a reality, a society where all of us strive for protection of human rights of every other soul. In fact, as Dr. Ambedkar said, it's to the lost man. It's to the lost man. We should reach out to the lost man. And unless we reach that person and ensure him this constitutional right, and our job is not done. I think that's something which we wanted to pursue, believe, and try to take forward. And it's a joy that we are doing this program with an amazingly young team, a team dedicated to this particular kind of work, a team that is so committed to learning, a team that's committed to debating, discussing, and sharing their information and knowledge, and also the present anxieties that they have. All of this is part of this particular program, and it's a joy. And in fact, 25 weeks just flew by, it appears. And we have amazing speakers who have presented on the finest material, and all of them are available at ReachLawyer YouTube channel. If those of you who have not watched the previous episodes, you can just go tune into ReachLawyer YouTube channel, subscribe there, and open it up and see. You'll get to see all the previous talk shows which are archived in YouTube, and they're also available on Facebook and even on Twitter. But YouTube is one place we can get all of them in a structurally organized manner. I think that's something which is, I think all of you need to go through, and we intend to improve. And you please suggest us. In fact, we request each and every one of you to be part of this process, help us, criticize us, intimate us regarding the subjects that we should be taking, talk to us, give us suggestions, opinions. We would like to take this forward. On this day of International Human Rights Day, we would like to promise you that, yes, ReachLawyer programs that are going to happen are going to be diverse, are going to be inclusive, are going to be informative, and are going to be archived, information available for an activist, for that grassroots activist, for that barefoot lawyer, for that a person who is a young lawyer, for that person who is an amazing expert on the subjects, who gets to know various dimensions which would not have got an exposure earlier. I think this is an amazing program that we have. It's not that we know everything, it's that there is a great number of people out there who have great amount of information to share. And this is a platform which ReachLawyer is a platform which we're going to do. So therefore, the motto of ReachLawyer is defending rights, protecting lives. We believe in it. And we believe that should be the duty of each and every citizen in this country, which is a fundamental duty as specified in Article 51A of the Constitution of India. I think all of us should remind ourselves of that kind of fundamental duty that we have, of a scientific temper, of a constitutional value, of an egalitarian society, of a secular society, of a modern society, of a democratic society, of an equal society, a society where one could present their opinion without fear or without favor, without the scare of the state getting into your room and trying to harass you for the same. I think that's something which is the space which we need to create. And how we do that? It's only by debating, talking, and trying to asking questions. I think that's the space ReachLawyer intends to go about. And as a part of that particular program, this Friday talk show, which is going to be in some time to come, we plan to do it in the other languages, local languages of South India, more particularly Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, and Malayalam. And also we aim to start it in Hindi for our friends, and people have been demanding for quite some time that the program need to be done in all these languages, and we will certainly make our effort. We are looking for, asking for this kind of wonderful young team in these languages, because without them, I don't think that we will not be able to go about this program with this degree of success. Thanks to each and every one of the ReachLawyer team. We have this, we call it as a flooding team, the flooding. And that was the thing that triggered this ReachLawyer Federal Talk Show to start. And that flooding, that George Floyd story has been there in with us. And that today we have come across narrating stories of so much of violence that has taken place, the kind of gross violation of human rights that's taking place, that has taken place, and that goes on in this particular country and across the globe. I think we are asking these questions, and flooding is a symbol on that particular thing. And this particular team is also named as flooding team, the editorial team of the ReachLawyer Friday Talk Show. It's going to be diverse. We are going to come with various other programs in this through this activity, and it's a joy to be with you all. And I have received amazing comments, criticisms, opinions, suggestions across India and elsewhere from very good friends who said that they love this program. They want this program to be much more focused. They have made some wonderful suggestions. Those suggestions we have been trying to implement in our talk show. I think we'll continue to do so. And all of you, you have a good suggestion, please share it to us. All that need to do is you can just, if you are on the ReachLawyer broadcast list, you come to us, or you can send your phone numbers to us. We'll add you up to the broadcast list so that we can send you great amount of information that keeps happening. ReachLawyer is a happening place, and it's a happening place. We'll share all that information that we have. We are working with various organizations. All that material from these organizations is also shared. We will believe that it's huge place. World is a huge place, and it's such a small world. There are so many people willing to come and join us, and we intend to give that space for every organization, every movement, every initiative that's working towards human rights, that ReachLawyer is part of their activity. ReachLawyer would be there with them to assist. I think that's something which is happening, and we'll continue to do that. And thanks to the amazing team, thanks to all of you, and thanks to that effort that we have completed.
May I just intervene for a moment?
Sure.
Gulab,
Hello? Yes, Himali?
Hello.
Hello?
hello.
Biti. Nothing. I'm just listening. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Today, I was listening Diksha and others. They are a new hope for human rights, and they are an icon of our generation to save our fundamental rights and to save our constitution, value, preamble, and all at all level. So, आप हमारी धरोहर हो हिंदी में दीक्षा जी
Thank you, sir.
धरोहर हो हाँ हम तो
Thank
बुढ़े
you.
हो जा रहे हैं मैं बेटी और सब मगर आप लोगों से हमें बहुत उम्मीद है
Thank you.
बहुत
Thank you
उम्मीद है
very
बहुत
much.
उम्मीद है बहुत उम्मीद
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a joy. It's a joy. It's
Yes,
all the
yes.
people who make this program a great success. And it's a pleasure for
Yes.
us that we're able to engage with.
This is
Yes.
a high time that we have to give a space to young people, and they can take a challenge forward.
Sure. Reach Lawyer program is such. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are with you. So please go ahead. Don't worry.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Himali,
Sir?
Mr. Gulam
Yes,
wants
sir.
to speak.
Yeah, Ghulam Nabi, sir.
Permit him.
Uh,
Yes.
Nitin, permit Mr. Gulam to
Ghulam
speak.
Nabi has raised a very proper question, but Ghulam Nabi.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Very good
It's my
evening.
Good evening, sir.
pleasure to be here with Mr. Beti Venkatesh. Thanks for the invitation and thanks for the Zoom link. Right now, it's working. We are working on 2G internet here. Both these come past now 1 year. We're without internet here.
I know.
Our nobody is around. So I hope that in future we have some programs, we have some webinars on the Kashmir issue also, because there are growing human rights violations right now. We're not able to keep our opinion here. We're not in a condition to carry on these human rights issues, because recently some of our offices in Srinagar, you have well known about our offices of JKCCS. They were raided by the so everything is for us. It is better that there should have been some talk on the rights of the people here. We're not able right now to carry on our activities. Everything is right now. The whole world is on this internet. Everything is carrying on internet. But it is very unfortunate. Our from last 1 year, our constitution was choked. It's a sort of this undeclared emergency right now in Jammu and Kashmir. So when our people are outside, they are not able to move freely. We have recently gone through some cases in Delhi. People are detained there and they are branded as terrorists. So these issues, there should be some talk on these issues. That why is it only with the common Kashmiri that whenever he's outside Kashmir and he's branded as a terrorist, and he's involved in terrorist activities. Where recently some guys here who had been released, who had been even acquitted by the court after more than 20 years in a case, and they were in jail for more than 20 years, and they were acquitted from all charges. But this took them to 20 years to acquit them from all charges, because everyone knows the fact that they were not involved in that very case. They were framed in that very case, make a scapegoat, and later on they were released. Their career is gone. Their precious, their life's precious. These years, 20 years have gone. Who will talk on this? And right now in the rest of India, nobody is in a condition to talk on these issues. Even we're not able here to talk on these issues, because a human rights thing in Kashmir right now is it's also some sort of like it's seen as this also like a terrorist activity. So there should have been some talk on the issue. There should have been discussions on this inside and outside, so that our rights are saved. Some of our brothers in this lawyers fraternity, they were detained earlier this year after this abrogation of this Article 370 of the Constitution and 35 of the Constitution of India, which has given the special status to this Jammu and Kashmir state. Even on LOCs, we're seeing skirmishes. With a routine here that we see that both sides, India and Pakistan, are engaged in some sort of the ceasefire violations. and in the long run, it's only the common Kashmiri, it's only the common these the people who are living in far off areas, whose life is spoiled, who are not able to live freely in their homes. They live in bunkers on this LOC and LIC. So these issues need to be
I think he was gone off or still there.
Yeah, he's still there, but very disappointed. So
Very
at
valid
least,
point.
yeah, at least we have
We
to
can
organize.
come on audio, it will be easier rather
Yeah,
than video.
yeah.
I think audio he can communicate better.
Yeah.
Nitin, check if he
But
can come on audio.
He can come on audio, but his video is on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for the
Come
interruption.
on audio, it's preferable. If you can come on audio, there will be some better bandwidth.
Yeah, sure.
आप ऑडियो में आ सकते हैं तो अच्छा रहता है क्योंकि बैंडविड्थ थोड़ा 2G के लिए आसान होता है. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You can
So
switch off the video and come on audio.
Yeah. I'd switched off this video. So it should have been better to talk on these issues in the day-to-day issues. As you have seen, where our students here have lost the precious time of their studies, because of the fallout of this scrapping of the article 370 and 35A. We're not able, even we're not able to have even discussions. When our people were detained here, they were told to sign a bond, to this extent that they will be released only after they will give in writing that they will not discuss anywhere the constitutional crisis which were going on here in Jammu and Kashmir from almost an year now. We had so many human rights violations day in and day out by the security forces. See, when these army convoys pass, our ambulances even are stopped. So this is the height of this we can call it too much democracy, that they don't allow our patients to ferry to the hospital. So we're seeing these our roads are where our roads are just made the sitting points for the men in this uniform. They are guarding these roads, for a common people in Kashmir. They are not able to move freely. It's only up to that you can carry on your activities in a day, that normally up to 5:30, and after 5:30 it's not able for a common Kashmiri to come out on roads, as there are so many security issues, other issues. So highly militarized, Kashmir is right now highly militarized zone already. There were some 7 lakh security forces and more have been deployed. So if for the sake of arguments, government is claiming that the scrapping of this article 370 and 35A will bring peace in Kashmir Valley, then how come right now it's there that there are thousands of security forces guarding the streets of the valley, and they should have some sort of, we mean that if as far as the government is concerned, and they are told us that peace will come. So nothing good had happened after the scrapping of the article this 370, sorry, and nothing good has happened with the Kashmiris. So my only point is right now that we people here in Reach Lawyers, we should reach to more and more people on the issues of these human rights violations which are right now going on in the Kashmir Valley, and there are hundreds of thousands cases which go unreported. Even when we file the petitions before the High Court, these habeas corpus petitions, they are not heard. they are not heard. There were post 5th August 2019, there were some 700 habeas corpus petitions filed before the High Court at this Srinagar, but only High Court had decided some 5% of those habeas corpus petitions, and rest of the petitions were pending in the High Court, and even courts have not come clean on the rights of the Kashmiris. So my point is that there should have been some more debates on the issues, on the day-to-day issues which are going on right now in this our valley. This was known to be the heaven on the earth, but right now it's not less than hell. So hope you all will show some we can say some strength and some passion to work for our rights also.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Certainly, we would be taking up every subject on human rights that includes issues at Kashmir or any of this challenge that India is facing. Every state in this country is a subject which we will be discussing here, whether it is Mizoram, whether it is Gujarat, whether it is Kashmir, whether it is Kanyakumari or Tamil Nadu, Kerala, any of the states. We're all part of one nation, and therefore anything that affects each one of us affects us all. I think that's what we believe in, and that's what does the Constitution say. With the Constitution that we have, it speaks of the kind of space that we have. We will be certainly having debates and discussions in coming days on this subject also. I think your statement would be a very interesting subject, because we have our ReachLawyer team, editorial team.
I hope
the team, young team,
that my statement will
the concepts and subjects on times to come. I think certainly they would.
Yes.
They have got the information from you today that these subjects need to be done. I'm always there to help them in this particular process, and it's a joy to work with this a very young, committed team of Reach lawyers and a flooding team. It's an excellent team. And
surely.
With this, I thank one of any other person intending to share. Mr. Nitin? Himali? Hello?
No.
No, sir. Nobody is.
Sure.
From the audience, we don't have any more.
Thank Ashok ji, thank Gulam Nabi ji for coming to the program and sharing your views also. It's a joy to have you people on this program, especially on this International Day of Human Rights. It's an amazing UDHR day, and an amazing day. And thank to the entire team of Reach Lawyer Friday Talk Show, Reach Lawyer Activity Team, the Flooding Team. I wish all of you a great year ahead, and great time ahead, and great activity which you can develop in times to come. I think we have a very, very wonderful road ahead of us and amazing times ahead of us. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, the entire team of.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Human Rights Day.
Thank you to all the people who have attended, who have made time to attend. I wish you all a happy Human Rights Day.
Not for us.
We understand that there are a lot of hopeless situations ahead of all of us, especially after what Mr. Gulam Nabi has said. But at the same time, it is in our hands right now to fight for our human rights. So we will definitely stand for it. So in that light, wishing you all a very happy Human Rights Day.
Yeah, it's always at the end of the day, the hope is what is going to push us forward to fight for these human rights that we all deserve and are entitled to. So happy Human Rights Day to everyone.
Yeah, a very happy Human Rights Day to everyone. And yeah, hope to see you soon. Thank you.